Welcome back to 3 Sport Live and exclusive on the Wellington waterfront for the Nissan Mobile 500. And for the works drivers racing at Wellington this weekend, it's just another race in an already very busy year. But for the young, ambitious Kiwi drivers like Greg Murphy, Craig Beard, of course, it's a chance to gain valuable experience and a chance to try and get a lucky break. And part of that sort of experience was also going across to Australia and checking out the scene of the Formula One Grand Prix in Adelaide. At Adelaide this year, Greg Murphy went some way toward being noticed thanks to this half-page feature in the program. The young Kiwi was at Adelaide to race his Aussie rival Paul Stokel in the Formula Brabham race, part of the build-up to the Formula One feature. And supporting him were fellow Kiwi drivers Ken Smith and Bill Farmer, who were here more for the sheer exhilaration of racing on this track.
It's a really fantastic car. I'd advise anyone to have a go. It's good fun.
Magic place. Like it's, the atmosphere is here and that sort of hikes you on a bit, and it's that's the real reason I thought if they don't have it in a year's time here, at least we've had a run around it.
Now, it might be a bit hopeful to think that Frank Williams watched the Brabham race, but the media certainly did. And when Greg Murphy won the race with a 10-second margin, the headlines cried out. Another young driver at the track was Jos Verstappen, one of the fastest rising stars in the sport. He used the 1993 New Zealand Summer Series to lift his world profile. And less than 2 years later, he's driving for Benetton.
With the experience I did on in New Zealand, yeah, it helped me quite a lot in Formula 3.
Greg Murphy can do the job, Jos Verstappen is doing the job, a French guy will do the job, an Italian guy will do the job. The whole trick is to be very competitive, to be very successful, and then to be at the right moment with the right people, with the right team, with the right sponsors.
Obviously, the road to the top is a hard one. But whether it's touring cars, Indy cars, or Formula One, there is no shortage of talented drivers. But let's hope that it won't be too long before more young Kiwis join Paul Radisich at the top. So the road to the top for some of the young Kiwi drivers trying to get their breakthrough to Formula One, the ultimate in motorsport, or is it? Because as you've seen so far today and throughout the year on 3 Sport with our coverage of the British Touring Car Championship, the 2-litre format around the world is really starting to take off. And in Fuji we caught up with one of the top team managers from the Motorola Pages BMW team and also some of the top drivers to get their thoughts about that increased battle between Formula One and touring cars.
Formula One, it ain't. But for a growing number of people in world motorsport, touring car racing is a not-so-bad substitute for the one they call the ultimate. Especially the new era 2-litre Super Tourers, the cars featured in the '94 Asia Pacific Touring Car Championship. Hey, some people even prefer this world to the glamorous, glitzy Grand Prix existence. Take Motorola Pages Racing team manager Peter Wall, for instance. When he stood out on the pit wall at Japan's Fuji Speedway for the Asia Pacific opening round in October, there was a sense of deja vu. In '76, he managed a Lotus win for Mario Andretti in a wet Japanese F1 GP.
I think Mario winning here was the nicest memory, of course, and I was very sorry for Nicky because that was the year of his bad accident and the fire at Nürburgring, and he'd come back and he came to here, the last race, with a chance of winning a championship in what had been the worst sort of year a driver could have, and yet he had the strength of character and will to say, no, this is silly, it's too dangerous, I'm not going to race, and gave away a world championship, which is something incredible.
Having been there at the Formula One pinnacle, how come he switched to touring cars?
I stopped racing with Formula One in '89 really because I was finding I was no longer able to spend enough time doing what I wanted to do, which was to spend time in the garage with the mechanics and in the workshop at the factory, because the funding levels had got so enormous that the majority of my commitment seemed to be spending time with sponsors and at functions and that sort of thing. And that wasn't what I really wanted to do. And of course, touring cars is real racing, and yet at the same time, these cars have a level of sophistication that's equivalent to Formula One, 5-7 years ago. So in a way, it fills a very nice spot because I'm back involved, and this is where we need to be because it's good, strong racing.
From the same team comes more opinion that F1 isn't for everyone. Motorola Pages driver Tim Harvey is good enough to win a British touring car title and claim major races like Macau, but he says,
I think I probably would readily admit that I wouldn't have been a Prost or a Senna or a Schumacher. I think that you could take a lot of good racing drivers and make them into competent Formula One drivers. There's a lot of guys in Formula One who have paid to get in the cars and who probably aren't worthy of the drive. And I'd certainly think I could run competitively in the car, but I wouldn't say I could have been world champion or anything like that, because, you know, ultimately, if I'm honest, I know what my limits are.
Touring car star Steve Soper judges himself in an F1 light.
For me to compete against the likes of Senna, no, but for me to compete against the likes of the others who are still finishing on the podium, I believe that I could do that.
Of course, there's F1, and then on the other hand, there's F1. Soper's teammate Joe Winkelhock has tried F1 at the bottom end of the field and was happy to escape.
So this was a bad experience, but also it was a good thing, because not everything, not only Formula One is the biggest thing in the world.
So maybe you get offered the job as Michael Schumacher's teammate?
No, I don't like to give him a lot of pressure, but I have fun in the touring car and I'm successful, and so I like it to be here.
Okay, Jochen Winkelhock there talking with that very good report from Wayne Monroe, looking at the battle between touring cars and Formula One. We'll take a short break here on the 3 Sports Special on the Nissan Mobile 500. When we come back, it'll be the New Zealand touring cars.